I tell you, Manny,
Yo, what's up?
is something else.
So how does my eye look?
Looks like you got 1,000 years of death just done right into your eye.
I was telling Andy, so my kid freaking nailed me when I was bringing him down from a tree.
Why'd you put him up a tree?
Huh? What? Okay, so he said
Yep.
he wanted to go up the tree.
Oh, Lord. And you thought that was a good idea.
In 2 seconds of being up there, he was like, "Can I go down? Can I go down?" Yeah.
Oh, my
I got him to stay still enough to grab a picture, but
that's
about it. So that's why you guys see my red eye. It's not pink eye, I promise.
Mm-hmm.
So how was your day, man? Excuse me.
He's right in the mic.
Yeah.
No, my day, was good. Just working, reaching out to clients, all that fun stuff. Got a long drive to prepare for tomorrow.
Getting that paper.
Trying, man. Trying to build up enough wealth for the family.
Yeah. Leave that legacy that you're never gonna see.
Yeah, I'm okay with that.
Yeah, that's that should probably be a topic
within itself. Yeah,
for like another podcast. Like everyone is all about like building empires and leaving legacy, and it's just like, yeah, bro. Like, good luck with that.
Is that before or after the recession?
Yeah, I don't know,
right.
But I just think it's kind of silly that I think that. Thinking about your children and maybe your children's children, I think it's a good idea.
Yes.
But then after that, like, what are you doing? You know what I mean? It's just like.
Well, I mean, right?
What are you
see in the Bible where it's about building and developing yourself, right? So I think everything needs to be baby steps. We first need to get in the mindset of, and we're just gonna get right into it, right? Of Christians should not be in insane amounts of debt. Right.
Yeah, I know.
Like Christians should not have bad credit, but these are things that we see that's prevalent.
But I'm talking more about like people are all about now, like, oh, let me leave this legacy, like family wealth.
Yeah.
Well,
people are about that, but it still goes back to that. We got to fix like the basic, like get out of stupid debt, get out of bad credit, so then you can maybe try to achieve that. I agree with you because the other issue is it's like how you say. Hard times make strong men make peaceful times make weak men make hard times. So it's like to
Joe Rogan.
I don't think that's Joe Rogan.
Well, Joe Rogan is the one that's used it quite a bit.
Yeah.
Made it kind of a little bit well known.
Yeah. So it's like past our grandkids, it's either gonna be really, really bad and like they might lose everything and have to start over, or...
I mean, we're getting pretty weak people these days, but...
Yes.
That's another topic for another day. So today we're actually going to be talking about deconstruction. This was like off the rave, even like when we were coming up, right? Quite a bit with your favorite artist, Lecrae. I think it's still happening today, but I think it's taken up a little bit of a different form. So that's what we're going to be getting into today. We're going to be looking at a video from Lecrae.
We're going to argue.
I'm sure we might because Andre's song, like, that's like his idol.
That's not my idol. So real quick, guys, for those of you joining us that have not seen us perform, we are Reformed Nerd. Manny is the host. I am the co-host or whatever you want to call me. So we're all things Christian and nerd life combined into one. Anime, video games, whatever you want to call it.
This specific podcast in time is very broad in general. We're just giving you our thoughts as Christian men on various topics that are happening or things that we find interesting. It could be anime or otherwise. We tend to focus on current event a lot of times.
Yeah.
If nothing good is happening, then we pick some other topic that we think is relevant. But today we're going to be talking about deconstruction. I think a lot of people are like losing their faith and all this other stuff. So
we didn't want to use the basic Trump thing and Biden and what's going on in the government. We think this might actually be a little more beneficial for everybody today.
What is happening with Trump and Biden?
So Trump is convicted of these 34 different charges.
Yeah, I don't care about that at all.
Exactly. Right?
Wait, do you?
I mean, like, it's interesting to watch, but it's like I was watching Ruslan as I was in Ruslan as I was at the grocery store, and he brought up a really good point. It's like, well, You got one person who is definitely not the figure. Well, you got two people who are not the figures of morality. He's like, I truly believe more that this is God's judgment more on us as a nation, as a country. These are the people we have to pick between. So, it's not an endorsement for either one. It's just more of like, this is the reality of what we got going on. And I think it aligns with what we believe. We're dealing with God's judgment between these two people at the end of the day.
For sure.
Yeah.
No good picks this time around, for sure.
Well, we haven't had any good picks in quite a while, though. But
so,
that's neither here nor there.
Let's hear out Mr. Lecrae here.
Put that at 1.5 so we don't get no copyright strikes.
I put it at 125. I think it should be fine. I don't think he copyrights any of his stuff, too. So.
Yeah, probably not.
Everybody, this is Lecrae, and welcome to my channel where we talk about faith, culture, and hip-hop, and some of the things in between. You know what I'm saying? Maybe a little bit of sports. I don't know. You know what I mean? You know how we do over here. But today we want to talk about the hot topic in the Christian space right now, which is deconstruction. But before we talk about that, I need you to like and subscribe. Okay? No, it's not a joke. No, it's not a game. I need you to like and subscribe. Everybody says like and subscribe, like and subscribe, like and subscribe. But when I say it, I mean it. Because I'm almost at 1 million subscribers, and when I hit 1 million, for some reason, that's what the statistics say. So, can I talk about woke real quick? Let's be real. In the black community, that's like a term that is old. We don't even really use that like that no more. So, like, to make a whole doctrine off of it is kind of wild to me. Whatever's clever, you know what I'm saying? Like, it'll be weird for me to be like, woke. It's like, that's so 2016 in my mind. If y'all still using that, then y'all do you. My thought process on this is sometimes words or semantics can really mess stuff up because we put way more into the word than it means. And deconstruction has become synonymous with walking away from the faith. Period. That's all it is. It's deconstruction. Oh, atheism. That's what people see in their mind.
That is what it is today.
It got popularized around the time, Michael Gungor kind of went through a lot of what he was going through, years back.
Do you know who that guy is? I'm asking because I don't know.
I don't know. He might be like a worship leader because during the 2016, 2017, there were multiple pastors and worship leaders that were just like coming out. They were deconstructing, but
they were coming out as atheists.
Well, if you want to call it that, you could, but keep on playing it. I know he's going to say something really interesting that he said when he finally came to some conclusion.
And he basically was like, man, I'm deconstructing and I'm just kind of walking away from the faith. And what I have seen is that oftentimes people walk away from the faith or deconstruct or step outside because they have correlated that this institutional corporate, when I say those, I mean like capitalistic, money grabbing, culturally exclusive, politicized version of the faith is married to Jesus. And so they're saying, I don't want anything to do with any of it. And they end up throwing the baby out with the bathwater oftentimes. I know because I did it too. That's right, I deconstructed. I just did not understand that even though the followers of Christ were doing all this crazy stuff that I couldn't wrap my brain around, it didn't mean that he endorsed it. And so I didn't have to throw the whole baby out with the bathwater, but we're so inundated with.
Let's pause it there.
Yes.
I think you're more familiar with his whole deconstruction era. Do you want to kind of shed some light?
There's a lot, man. So he deconstructed because...
By the way, I always found that kind of goofy, the whole deconstruction thing, but...
After hearing him explain it and watching it go through, it makes sense, and I think it's actually a good thing.
Okay, go on.
But pretty much, he received major backlash during the Trayvon Martin situation before BLM really became BLM, because there was a lot of things within the black community that was happening that bothered him, and he really wanted to bring it up. So long story short, the church pretty much, we can say it, the white church in this case said, hey, we don't really like what you're talking about. Just keep it about Jesus. And he's like, well, Jesus would have spoken about some of these terms. So long story short, the church stopped supporting him. He lost a lot of fans, a lot of money. And in that time of being...
and I think he should have. For being silly.
I don't think it's being silly.
I mean, you look at what BLM became. I mean, not that it became what it really was. And a lot of people were looking cheesy nowadays. Well, looking back and be like, dang, maybe I should have not jumped into that wagon so soon.
No, for sure, right? But again, this is also people walking and moving in ignorance and not really knowing what's going to happen, right? Like, in the beginning, what BLM first started off wasn't a bad thing. But now what it is a completely different situation, right? Where it's forcing a lot of Christians to really think about their values.
To me, it was always sketchy. It was always like, I don't know what's really going on. Like, what are we doing?
Yeah, but that's also how you view it, though, right? Yeah. It's like Lecrae brings up a good point within his whole deconstruction. Is more of the idea that there were a lot of things that were close to his heart emotionally that affected him, and so he was able to find a group that was like an outlet for it, and that's really what a lot of people were looking for at the end of the day.
You know what Paul's letter to Timothy says about false prophets and false teachers.
Don't follow them.
That they will speak into your ears what you want to hear.
Yeah.
And many people will be led astray.
Yes.
And I think that a lot of people that are quote unquote or have been deconstructing, and then like Lecrae at this point, I think he's on the straight and narrow, right? He kind of like got over his little phase.
He's been on the straight and narrow.
Yeah, for a bit, but he had like that, period.
But that brings us into Marcia's question, right? She's asking, what is deconstruction? And so, in the term of what we're using for deconstruction, it's the idea that you analyze and you pretty much try and go back to the roots of the beginning of what you believe, right? So, if you've been a Christian for X amount of years, you're looking forward back and you're saying, okay, what are the pillars of what I actually believe? Yeah. What builds up off of it? And are these certain things that we believe? An example is, I'm personally going through somewhat of a bit of a deconstruction of my own faith, not to the point of like Lecrae, but a lot of the things that I used to believe, I've really like analyzed and tried taking a look at the Bible, different conversations we've even had with Chetty, and it's been more of like, okay, even though I've been taught this, do I really believe that? And some people will have that with once saved, always saved. If a Christian can lose his salvation, can a Christian have a demon? Like all these different things can be a part of like, okay, even though I've been taught this, what do I actually think about it outside of influences, and what does the Bible actually show me?
I think that I fault more the individual than the organizations. Like obviously there's been people that have been led astray for various different reasons, and obviously there are people that know very well how to manipulate others, but at the same time there are people that almost like willingly want to be manipulated, in the sense like you should always be on the lookout for people that are trying to lead you astray. Why would you take something at face value without looking into it? I think that it's twofold, and I'm struggling to explain this because, the pastor of an elder, of a leader, right? Like, you're supposed to be someone above reproach, right? Because you do have that influence. But at the same time, it's like you as an individual, right? You should know what you believe and why you believe what you believe. And I think that a lot of people that have been caught up in this deconstruction phase is that they never owned their faith. Ultimately, they never truly owned their faith and their relationship with God. It was, they had themselves a priest, and it was the whole who is it that said Jacob? I think it was like the God of Abraham. The God of my father. So it was never their God. It was somebody else's God that they worship.
Well, the Israelites, for the most part, still say that. No, and I get exactly what you're saying. I think it is fair, though, to understand that it's not like everybody went into like the whole BLM thing as to, well, I want to be deceived. There's been so many different chapters and so many different people involved in there that had a lot of good intentions. Realistically speaking, you don't see a lot of the deception that happened until way later on, dude. Like the amount of millions of dollars that were stolen by like the founders, that didn't come out until like 2 years ago. I want to say roughly.
Right, but even then, do you remember when this first started? We had to have like, because people were just all weird all over the place. But we had a meeting with our youth group and young adults at that time, talking about like, hey, we're not telling you to do, we're not telling you not to do. Here's what the Bible says. Think critically with what's happening.
Yes. Patrick, what's up, man?
And make sure that what the actions that you are making, you're not going to regret them later on. I think that a lot of people were led by their emotions, and they just let themselves be guided by that instead of being guided by the Holy Spirit.
Well, I don't think it was all purely emotions though, and that's why I bring up.
By the way, I don't want to like dwell on the BLM thing because that's not necessarily like the entire topic.
Well, but I mean, this is where we really see everything come out of it, though, right? I think it's so good to explain the foundation. I think pretty much
you think the deconstruction came because of BLM?
I think it was the
for people in general.
No, I think it was the not the straw that broke the camel's back. I think it was the fire that lit the cannon and shot the shot. I think everything was already put in place. I think just BLM was like, all right, let me light the fire, and then this is gonna blow out.
Are you talking about like Lecrae, or are you talking about like people in general?
People in general.
You really think that BLM was the one that caused people to do the deconstruction thing?
I think so, because when you have major Christian figures,
I don't know.
Listen, bro, when you have major Christian figures deconstructing around the same time as this, whether we like it or not, people are gonna be following the influences that they follow, right? So if you start seeing major Christian artists and pastors deconstruct, that's gonna cause other people to think who are not strong in the faith, whoa, they're deconstructing because of this and because of that. Again, I don't think BLM caused everybody to deconstruct, but I think the couple of big people that did.
Who were the big people besides Lecrae?
Well, there was that Christian artist that he spoke about. There was.
He was also because of BLM.
No, but it was around the same time frame though.
Okay.
I think it's just the fact that it became a trend. That's really where.
I would agree with you there. I think it definitely became a trend around that time. I don't know if I would give BLM that much credit though. No, I don't. At least from my point of view, I think that with maybe people like Lecrae and maybe a couple that started being vocal about it, then I think a lot of more people became inspired by it, I guess.
But going back to what I was also saying before, I don't think that the deconstruction thing in itself is bad, though. I still don't think it's a bad thing, because it reminds me a lot of what happened in COVID with the church, right?
To me, it's just sad that you didn't develop your own faith. You let yourself be led through lies because you didn't take ownership of what you believe. Like that's what I'm saying. Like that to me is sad, because look, at some point, like people have to take ownership for what they're doing, and I think that for me, it's sad that so many people got to the point where they just let themselves be tricked and lied to.
But I don't think it's just people being lied to in bad churches. I think this also happened in good churches, and that's where I'm really trying to push it. You don't have to go to a bad church to be convinced to believe something. Sometimes you can go to what others may consider to be a healthy and a strong church, and because maybe the way that the church is operating, maybe things are just easy for you in that point in life, it's just easy for you to ingest, and you really don't take any authority into your own personal relationship, because maybe the church and how they're building it is just easy enough for you. I think that statement is a little too generic, and I think we have to.
What statement?
We're just saying that people are allowing themselves to be lied to, like.
But you're staying ignorant.
Well, you're choosing to stay ignorant.
Yeah,
it's different. All right, so how I'm understanding what you're saying is that people are going to other spiritual leaders to be fed crap to be ignorant. I'm saying
I'm saying that you're having to deconstruct because you let yourself be tricked.
See, so I struggle with the word tricked, because deconstruction doesn't always have to be in a negative connotation. So like
agreed.
So like,
but in this case, with what he's describing, it is in a negative light. Like deconstructing means you're tearing down, right?
Yes. But
how is that not negative? You're not building up, you're tearing down.
Well, just because I've been following him, right? His whole point with the whole deconstruction thing is not to stay in deconstruction, and that's the danger. And that's what I'm assuming he's going to say in this video, because he's been congruent with everything that he said. His main thing is not to stay in the deconstruction, right? You break down the things that maybe lies within the faith or things that you don't believe, but then you build up from it. And that's what Lecrae promotes. He doesn't promote just tear down and that's it. He's saying, no, tear down the things that you may not agree with or, seek through the Bible, but then construct it back up. Don't stay broken down.
No, of course, I would agree with that.
Then you go on the other side. And that's what
that's what he was saying at the beginning, that there's a lot of people today. In his time, when this whole thing started, I think it was seeking truth. I think now deconstruction oftentimes means, like he was saying at the beginning, leaving the faith.
I disagree with you. I think it's been leaving the faith for quite a while.
Well, I mean, I'm going off of what he's saying in the video.
Yeah,
he said that right now. When was it? 2 years ago. He's saying that right now, deconstruction means leaving the faith. Where it wasn't so much that when he,
And a lot
started
of people
doing that.
A lot of people left the faith when he was around the time of.
Well, Lecrae, Anderson is calling you a liar. I don't know what to tell you.
I'm just saying, man. Following the Christian hip hop industry and seeing how separated people were, it's like literally right now how like Republicans and Democrats are like against each other and they're fighting each other. It's the exact same thing right now.
Hold up, let's catch up on some of these chats before we continue. Oh, you're talking about a subject that have very strong opinions. Oh, okay. So Patrick has strong opinions. Okay. Curious to hear what they are. Rafi's asking, is deconstructing bad? I'm not saying it's bad. I'm saying that it's sad that people let themselves get to the point where they have to deconstruct, right? Because that means that to an extent, you let yourself be led astray, right? And like Anderson leans on the side of
it's a good thing to have because you're now recognizing that you may have either had false beliefs or you've been believing something you don't believe, and so now you're working through it to develop.
But it's still sad that you let yourself get to that point.
Not necessarily, though.
Really?
There's certain beliefs that
it is not sad for somebody to believe a lie.
Well, here's a perfect example.
But that's not sad.
No, dude, because you can't call everything a lie.
It's not
everything a lie.
What are you talking about?
All right, so
how is
you gotta explain if you ask him, man?
I don't understand. How is it not sad that somebody let themselves be tricked and lied to and let themselves to believe something that's not true? How is that not sad? I don't understand why you're against me on that.
Are you gonna let me answer?
How is it not sad? Explain it.
All right. So I look at it in the sense of, for example, my own faith, right?
Wait, but is it sad or not? Explain that.
This is not a black and white situation.
It is. So it's not sad?
It's not a black and white situation. You can't just pin it as fully sad or fully not sad. You can't. Here's an example, right? We call ourselves Reformed nerd. There's a lot of Reformed beliefs that I had that I've broken away from, that I am now working to figure out, okay, is this what I truly believe?
I would say that it was sad that you believe stuff that you didn't fully own.
That I can agree with.
Okay, so that's what I'm saying.
No,
it is sad to see that so many people have let themselves believe lies.
But you can't call it a lie, though, because
how is that not sad?
So I'm getting hung up on the word lie because there are certain things that one group of people will believe that is not a lie, or we can't just prove it's a lie.
I think you're focusing on the wrong words.
That's what I'm saying. Focusing on the lie,
because I'm saying I think it is sad that people let themselves believe things that are not true, according to his example. Because he's not talking about, like losing your salvation. He's not talking about predestination.
Yeah,
that's not the type of stuff that he's talking about. I think you're going there because that's the stuff that you're working through. But I'm not even talking about that. That's what I'm saying. Like I don't understand.
Because it's still a form of deconstruction. So I'm saying like within the whole umbrella of it. That's
like deconstruction 2.0. This is like Hillsong. Having people believe that that God is only love and there is no wrath and you don't have to repent. That's what I'm talking about.
Okay, cool.
Save 2.0 for the next the next podcast.
Let's see what's
all right. Go to Patrick.
Deconstruction can be helpful if what you're deconstructing is tearing down wrong beliefs.
I've noticed that this is kind of sensitive. You weren't kidding. Like this is sensitive for you.
Hey,
okay.
I think I can handle this pretty well.
Now that I have that understanding, I think I'll I'll put on my sensitive hat. All right, let's go.
No, I don't think not sensitive. I think it's good that we work through this, right? Because
yeah.
So Ron believes without throwing away the foundation. However, I personally believe it was a tool used by the enemy. I agree with that.
Oh, okay.
He agrees with both things of what we're saying. The devil used this to get people to get away from God, and it was very sad to see.
I will say, okay.
Yes.
In response to Patrick, I do believe that they were people that definitely used that era or that time or this happening in order to give themselves an excuse.
100%, dude.
To walk away. Lord. Like a lot of people use COVID as a
100%
means to just
like. I look at this whole thing kind of like how the Bible says separating the chaff from the wheat. This was one moment of that. COVID was another moment of that too. God definitely allowed this still to work out to separate people, and we're really starting to see who was really in it and who wasn't,
which is very sad to see.
Yes. Merari says, so deconstructing is leaving the faith? Not necessarily.
Okay. So, deconstruction, correct me if I'm wrong, in Lecrae's era was really like, I've been walking this walk and I really haven't owned my faith. I need to take a step back and figure out what I believe and then move forward. Yeah. Today, a lot of the deconstruction does mean like,
yes,
I've left the faith. I'm deconstructing my faith. I don't believe this anymore.
Yeah, a lot of people are not honestly deconstructing. It's like how Mandy said, they're just using it as a way to get out.
Yeah,
and be done with it. And then your wife says, but if you leave the faith, doesn't sound like a good thing.
Oh, that's what I was talking about being sad.
If you say leaving certain teachings made by men, okay, but something that is biblically based, that's kind of odd. Yeah. How do we add Patrick into this? Because he wants to jump in.
Oh, I mean, we can set something up. We can set a it would be too tough to figure out because I think we'd have to set up like a Zoom or something. But we'll definitely keep it in mind, Patrick. We can do a part 2 and get your perspective on it and have a good conversation about it. Absolutely. We'll set it up for sure. We'll reach out in Instagram, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And then Rafi says, it kind of sounds like there are two types: deconstructing just to leave the faith, which is sad, and deconstructing to find answers to things that aren't as clear in Scripture, which is not sad. Yeah.
Agreed.
Absolutely.
Do you want to say anything else before we continue with the video?
No, you can continue with it.
All right. You want to go to round 2? Start another fight?
Yeah.
All right.
Everything looking like the way it looks, especially in America. It's like, well, of course, don't forsake the fellowship of the assembly. That verse really does not have anything to do with going to a building with lights and cameras and songs. If you want to do that, that's great. But what that verse is really about is not forsaking the fellowship. It's like not walking away from the faith, the group of people who held you down, growing with believers. Like, look at the context of the verse. And so in America,
I will say, this is a belief that hasn't been taught properly to a lot of Christians folk. Like, just
absolutely,
it's so crazy to me that like the idea of the church has been so bastardized that it's crazy to me.
Yeah, man.
That you have so many people still today thinking that church is just a Sunday service. Yeah. That you spend 2 hours or an hour out of your day singing a couple of songs, listening to a sermon, and like that is how you're supposed to live as a church. And I think like that is absolutely right, and that's a great point. Like, fellowshipping doesn't just happen on Sunday. In fact, it should not just be happening on Sunday. Like, that's why you have small groups, and that's why you should be getting to know people within the church and meeting outside of the building, fellowshipping, helping each other with things that are happening in your life. Like in Philippians, literally, it talks about you carrying your brother's burdens.
Exactly.
How can you do that if you don't know your brother or your sister,
And it's sad because a lot of the ways that we've been teaching church has caused a lot of people just to get so burnt out that they're like, if this is what the church is and this is what I got to do, I'm done and I'm out.
Yeah.
And it's our incorrect teaching of how to be a community. And it's weird when you think about it because the world has really has really built up really good systems and methods to create community, because that's really what people are looking for. And it makes me think of people I've met in my life, Christians who have walked away, and it's like the burnout was real. The lack of community was a real thing where people just felt like they were not supported, so they just went to where they could. It's really insane if we really like stop and take a look and see what people are struggling with, man. Mm-hmm. Like if we were to be more if we were to be more like Jesus, right? Super cliche, but we see Jesus time and time again really addressing the true crux of the issue, really just going off and seeing. And Jesus was not I'll just pray for you and then forget about the person. Jesus really prayed for the people and then addressed the needs, right? And it's like, if the church worked better at being like that without being abused, I think a lot of people might have really had a real encounter with God.
Yeah, and I mean, you and I are experiencing this a little bit now. Like we've been evangelizing to somebody that we met at the gym, and one of the things that we've heard, from him specifically is like, man, I've been looking for a company like this, like people that I can chat it up with, that I can talk about real things and not just talk about, women or whatever. Yeah. So like there are people that are just like craving for real connections. And if we truly understood, what we are called to do, I think that we would be a lot more effective, and we wouldn't have so many people, leaving the church or looking at the quote unquote church in the way that they do, that it's just like this building that does activities here and there. That's another thing, man. Like, we got to have an activity every day of the week. We got to have like these concerts where only Christians go, and let's invite another church. And it's just like, it's wild. It's wild.
I don't know if I have one of my pastors. He said something really funny. I'm not gonna. I'll tell you after. But he said that when we do a lot of these youth services, or not youth services, but like these,
we can record it after we end, and then maybe we'll see if we post it or not.
Okay, no, but he says that all these different events where it's made by Christians for Christians, he's like, what's the point? What is the point of it all? Like, we're going to have a momentary high, but then what? Like, it's no different than, for example,
I think if you call it an evangelistical service and that's what you're doing, I think it's whack. But sometimes it's cool to like fellowship with like other congregations and just, hey, how's it going? Blah, blah. And,
it's
seeing
nice
some talents on display and whatnot.
It's nice to develop the friendships, but realistically speaking, right, in our community that we see, in the Hispanic community, a lot of these evangelistical events aren't really that evangelistical.
Yeah.
And then like the ones that really are evangelistical, they really have more of an impact. But we call it an evangelizing service when it's made for Christians by Christians, right? Like, how do we expect to be able to reach people by using the methods that we use for ourselves and expect them to turn more to us? Now, I'm not saying we should be like the world, but then there needs to be a different thought process as to how we reach people.
Let me ask you something.
Yes.
How would you have a evangelistical service?
Block party. Not a church event where everybody has to be dressed up and you're playing 3 worship songs and then you're collecting off. No.
Okay. So how would you set it up? Because like, even when you think of a service,
yes,
worship is for Christians,
yes,
to praise their God.
Yes.
So that's not evangelistical.
Not at all.
I mean, maybe like the message could somewhat be.
Yes.
So how would you have an outreach service, if you will? You said block party. What does that look like?
So, I mean, just thinking about it, I've never planned one, but to me, it'd be like, maybe have 1 or 2 different food trucks, bouncy house, different booths, talking about things that can be done in the community, but in every single station having gospel tracks, having people who are just trying to have real life communication with others. Like that's how I would look at that, right? Like, let's say if our church, we have the bouncy house, in the parking lot. Parents can bring their kids in. They can play. They just have to be in the area, and somebody could be asking around, oh, which one is your kid? How old are they? Oh, well, Jesus loves you and your child. Here's something that you can give them. I think that would realistically be more effective, because now there is an open back and forth communication that can happen, compared to, okay, let's just sit all these people. They're going to sit down, then they're going to stand up, then they're going to sing these songs that they don't even believe in, and then they're going to sit down, then they're going to give their offering, and then they're going to listen to somebody speak to them, and then you're going to sing one more song, and then you're going to home and be like, what the flip did I just do? You get me? Like, that's where I struggle. That type of service structure is for Christians, by Christians, and the world is not going to understand it. But when we can have real dialogue with people, and really address some of the concerns that they may have, I think that is going to be so much more thing. And then afterwards, if they become Christians, they have more questions. Yeah, then bring them in. Let them see how we worship God. But I think to hit them with that from the beginning is not that effective.
Yeah, it's wild. It's kind of tough.
Yeah. I'm really passionate about this, because how I am.
Yeah, I can see.
My wife is a worship leader, and I help her out quite a bit. I do the audio-visual stuff now, and it's very like... It's a thing very near and dear to me, because I got to also experience a church that had a huge Christian group, and it was very out of the ordinary. I mean, early 2000s, we had slam poetry. We did different events where people were able to hang out together, and it wasn't always just stuck inside the church. We gave people opportunities to fellowship outside and do stuff. So there's a lot of different stuff.
Let's catch Patrick's comment before we go into the video. There is
a video Lecrae has on his channel where he broke down his whole deconstruction time. He even has a song on it, was that on Church Close 4? I think that was on Church Close 4. That's one of his albums.
No, I think it was 6.
No, he only has 4 right now. You can do it. That would be cool. I remember the block party thing. I remember my old church had an idea to do a block party, but they did not want to use a bunch of Christian music. Well,
they
right
didn't
now,
want to use?
Yeah, I knew it was Church Close 4. Now we could do it with all the Christian rap that's out there, dude. It'd be so easy to just be able to have that stuff out and, have it be just playing out. Maddie, stop it. There's only 4 Church Close. I think he's done with the Church Close series. So dumb.
That's my kids.
Yeah, okay.
My kids' spirit. You say 4, they'll go 5, 6, 7, 8.
Oftentimes, where we fellowship with believers is in this institution that is on Sundays in a building. Sometimes there's coffee and there's childcare. That's just kind of the way we've set it up. But that's not that's a description, not a prescription of what church is. Church is people. It's the body, right? You got elders, you got deacons, you got leaders, and you got people who come together to grow. And when you're deconstructing, oftentimes for me, it was me saying, I don't like the infrastructures that these people have built that care more about money, that care less about people or marginalized people or poor people. And so I don't want anything to do with it. And you start looking like, well, where does it exist where it's better? And oftentimes you just don't see it because you don't have access to it, you haven't been exposed to it. But I've been very fortunate to travel the world and realize that there are broken people everywhere, but there are also institutions and infrastructures that do not look like what we have created here in America. It's not to say that they're better, it's just to say that they have different issues and different struggles. And I began to realize that the struggles that we have are not necessary in other places, right? And so I was able to see the difference between the Christ of the scriptures and the Christ that we have kind of propped up as like a politicized, commercialized version. And I said, I don't want the politicized, commercialized stuff, but I do want Christ, and I do want his church, and I do want the fellowship and all of those particular things. So my heart goes out to everybody who's deconstructing because they're struggling through some hurt probably or some inconsistencies. But I would just, encourage you, God is real, God is here. I deconstructed only to reconstruct. Sometimes you got to tear down a moldy house and rebuild, but build on the foundation that is Christ. And I know that's hard to see sometimes because when you Google.
One of the few times I agree with Lecrae.
Like, all right, church, you get the same people telling you the same answers. And it's a long, ongoing process. Listen, I want to dive deeper into this whole topic, and I'm going to do that on my Patreon. So make sure you subscribe to the Patreon so we can dive into this thing a little bit more. But I would just say this in the end, be encouraged, continue journeying. And it's okay to be on a journey, man. I understand it. I wrote a book called I Am Restored, How I Lost My Religion But Found My Faith. Check that out. I think it'll help you a lot in your reconstruction process. All right. Love. God bless.
That's right.
You signed up to his Patreon?
No, I'm not.
No, man, you're missing out on all the goodies from Lecrae, bro.
I don't have anybody's Patreon. Actually. I think if I signed up for somebody's Patreon, it would probably be Ruslan's first.
Really?
Yeah.
All right.
I mean, we don't have one going yet, so.
I have one. I'm just not doing anything with it.
No, it's all good. We gotta build it up.
You haven't signed up.
I know.
We could be having private parties and keeping information so that we can give it to the people that pay.
Yeah. Wow, we're not there yet.
Oh, snap. So, any other thoughts on the last piece of Lecrae's video here?
He touched on something that we haven't actually gone over, which is the church hurt side of it too. That's a very interesting piece between, and it makes me think, how much is the responsibility of like the leaders that we deal with and help us out, and how much is our own personal responsibility of how we need to take with our own faith. I feel like with society now, we're so used to just being able to pass the buck on to others. Albeit, yes, there's a lot of churches that do a lot of messed up stuff. They're doing a lot of things that are hurting a lot of people. But, you know, all this to say with deconstruction, church hurt, all that, it really does begin to show where our foundation really is. Is it Christ or not?
I will say that the videos that I have seen of different atheists going through deconstructions, or they have a channel that's literally dedicated to like why they left the faith. At some point in time, you find a video that it's them talking about like all of the quote unquote trauma or things that happened to them. And you can quickly see like, oh, okay.
This is where it's coming from.
This is where the catalyst really is. Like, you know, there's a lot of people that they're really focused on like supposed bad theology, like, oh, God is not fair because of this and this. And then eventually you know how people say like, when you ask somebody a question of like what's wrong, it's not the first answer, it's not the second, it's like the third and the fourth.
Yeah.
A lot of the times with people that are going through this is the third and the fourth, and that always, or for the most part, leads back to some type of church hurt.
I agree with you 100%. Right? And it sucks.
Which is sad.
It's extremely sad. But I think it's important that we remind people too that God is a just God, that although he doesn't do things exactly when we want it to, he will extract his justice at the end, right? Like, you know, I know we talk a lot about people who are teaching wrong stuff, but God's going to have his time with them.
Oh, yeah.
Whether it's now, whether it's later, God's going to have his time with those people.
He says it himself. It's going to be worse for you who lead my sheep astray.
You know, it's scary for us to think because we do this, but God's going to hold us accountable for everything that we say.
The Bible says it, man. Like, what it says? It says something along the lines of, if you aspire to be a teacher, like you aspire to do a good thing, but at the same time, you're going to be held to a higher standard than everybody else. So it's like, there's a lot of people that want to be preachers, that want to teach, and they don't really understand the other side of that as well.
Patrick says church hurt is real. It's a real thing. I've gone through it twice. Man. No, I understand. I've been through a church split. I've seen a lot of the pain that it causes and stuff like that, and you know, it's definitely done way more harm than it's done good. And you know, it stinks to see, because I still see people from my youth days, and I'm just like, where you guys are at, and for the amount of people that we had, it's tough to see that not a lot have stayed in the faith. Yeah,
it happened even in my previous church as well. Yeah. There was some drama, and there was like a split happening. My parents literally, I think, it's wild. I think I was like 14, 15, 16, around that age.
Yeah.
And my mom was on one side. The people that were like leaving.
Yeah.
Right? Really? Yeah.
Okay.
And it wasn't like she was leaving, but she was considering it because that pastor was kind of close to some family members. So they went to her and like, hey, we're leaving, we're going to start this thing. And my mom was like, so well, hey, like we're thinking about doing this, and I'm like, yeah, I'm happy where I'm at. If you guys want to go, that's fine, but I'm gonna be continuing where I'm at my church.
Yeah, so for me,
needless to say, they ended up staying.
For me, it was the reverse, right? My mom was like, "I'm kicking you out of the house if you think you're gonna leave."
Oh, okay.
And I was like, "Yeah, no, I'm out." Needless to say, she didn't kick me out of the house, but like that, it was that much tension.
Yeah.
So
it's weird, like when church, like I've heard similar stories, like when there is going to be some type of split, like you're always seeing each side like visiting homes and like trying to like get their people. That's why for a very long time I never got involved in any type of eldership or anything past like a teacher or like preaching here and there. I didn't want to see that side. I didn't want to be a part of it. I just wanted to focus on what God had called me to do. And it wasn't until way later on that I'm like, okay, let me get involved in this. And even then there's a lot of people that choose not to deal with the politics side of,
and I don't blame them. I don't blame them at all.
Yeah, I think it really takes a mature Christian to be able to delve into that side of the church, but still have love for every single individual.
Yes.
And always look at them like Christ would look at them. You know what I mean?
God is definitely working on that with me. Well, you know, I'm involved in that world, so it's been interesting to see how God, you know, has used these situations to build up my own maturity. And it's like, okay, God, I get it. I don't like it, but I get it.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, I think this is all that we have for today. Before we go, though, we have to talk about Demon Slayer for a second.
Dude.
We have to talk about...
I like the episode, but...
Demon Slayer.
I'm telling you, man, it's like...
I spelled it completely wrong.
Like, I agree with you. I think it is a filler season so far.
What is it, season 4?
Season 4, yes.
Episode 4, I think.
But I still like it because, you know, there's some filler stuff that's good. Like, for me, it was interesting.
Dude, I told you, man. I was like, yo, this is, like, completely filler. Like, it's just...
No, because, you know what?
I kid you not. That entire episode could have been given in 5 minutes.
Well, I liked his interaction with Tokido because...
Well, you want to make some airplanes?
I know, right? No, but it was cool, though, to see it's like he's breaking the barriers and he's going to... Like, oh, here we go. This is the perfect part that you can cut out and make a separate video on. Tanjiro is like the new Goku of like convincing people.
Making friends with everybody.
Exactly.
I have started to see that, like he did it with the first one, what he bonded on like ramen noodles or something.
Yeah.
So this one, it was airplanes and...
Spoilers,
you know.
If you haven't caught up yet.
You know, this is kind of like a good analogy. I think I'm going to make a separate video on this, but like on the church, you know, like the Hashira, like all of these guys have just been going to church, going through the motions, you know, going through all these things. And then Tanjiro's coming in and it's like, hey guys, like we can also have some interpersonal relationships here.
Exactly.
And I'm sure that coming to the next season, maybe those types of relationships and bonds that are getting built maybe will come into play. I don't know. I haven't kept up with the manga, but that's kind of where I think that they might be heading a little bit.
I saw
outside of also like setting you up to be emotionally attached to whoever's gonna die.
I saw a comment on one of our videos where somebody said that we need to just wait, that this is not a filler season at all. Somebody
seems very
said,
fillery to me. So we're 4 episodes in, bro. How many episodes is it?
I don't know. But somebody said in one of the comments that like that where the manga is at in this arc, it definitely changes. But real quick to Patrick's comment, he's saying that he hasn't gone back into preaching because of ministry politics. I love discipleship and seeing people come to Jesus, to have come to Jesus moments. I agree with you. I think for us in our case, we are very blessed with the different pastors that we work with. I think also a lot of the stuff that Manny and I have just seen over the years have kind of matured us and has allowed us to really walk into this. So, Manny and I are not senior pastors or anything by that mean. We just work with some really good pastors that help direct and guide us and they chill us out when we need to be chilled out.
There are people trying to lead me into pastorship, and I'm like, nah, it's not for me, bro. I haven't heard that calling from God yet.
I've taken just one seminary course.
Yeah, Anderson will be.
No.
Will be a pastor.
If that's what God has, He's gonna make it happen. And then Patrick says there is an episode on season 2 of Mashal that has some good content that ties into some biblical themes. I think it's 7 or 8. Is Mashal on Crunchyroll?
It is. Yeah, that's where I watched it.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm just catching up on Jujutsu Kaisen, so that'll be the next series that I'll start after Jujutsu Kaisen.
Yeah, I'm going through Overlord. Maybe I heard Jujutsu Kaisen gets good, so maybe I'll give it a try. I mean,
I've always liked Jujutsu Kaisen.
I just don't like the whole eating finger stuff. I just find that so stupid.
Yes, because flying around the world, finding magical orange balls is gonna be,
amazing. way better. At least I'm not eating freaking fingers. Dude, it's weird, dude. It's weird.
I only watched the first season of Jujutsu Kaisen.
Like, is he just swallowing them?
He just swallows.
Is he like?
No, he just like.
It's just.
So
imagine you taking like a thumb and like eating a thumb. That's
if it's gonna let me go KO can or whatever, bro. Let's go. Yeah. Let's go.
That's disgusting.
I don't know.
Careful, Rafi. Foot fetish coming your way.
Oh, here we go. Let's see. Be prepared with that one, Andy. With which one? Because I've seen the first season of Jujutsu Kaisen. I'm just rewatching it so I can watch season 0 and then the next one that's out. I wanted to just be reminded of everything before I go on. I've already seen the first season. I love it. Could not get into Jujutsu
bro.
Kaisen.
Yes, Patrick, preach. Little too demonic going on. The good guys using all that demonic stuff. I don't know. We'll see. And this song is all about all that demon stuff. He goes out there and looks up exorcism.
Oh jeez. Listen, we should actually do a live on that.
I think if we do a live on it, I'm not opposed to it. It would be just you talking to me. Listening.
I don't know about me just talking.
Haven't had any type of encounter. Barely looked into.
I've had 2 encounters.
I know, I know that you're kind of prepping to go out there and start exercising demons and hospitals and whatnot.
I don't know.
This is your one.
God has not had me exercise anybody, nor have I faced it, so I cannot respond to that. I can respond to other gifts that He has used me in, but I can't speak to that yet. It hasn't happened. I haven't seen it.
Stay tuned. Maybe we'll share next time. Anyways, it is 10 o'clock.
Yeah, guys.
Bedtime. Thank you guys for joining us, guys and girls.
Yes.
We want to be mutually inclusive.
Make sure you like, share, subscribe.
Tell your peoples about this wonderful, amazing podcast.
Follow us on Instagram. I respond a little bit more on Instagram, unless it's a Manny specific question. We're both on there. And help us spread God's word in probably an unorthodox way.
Amen. You want to start it?
So, guys, remember that we must
persevere.
Exactly.
Peace.
Good night, y'all.